So then you can drop down onto your forearms. So I do like the forearm position as well because I find that the angle of the torso allows you better control in keeping the low belly engaged. So when you're in tabletop, it might get a little bit easy to spill the pelvis forward and to let the belly sink down, and that's not super great on the low back over an extended period of time. So having the forearms down, I think there's just something about it that allows you more opportunity to maintain neutral spine. So you can play around with those two, whether you're on your hands or your forearms, the action in the legs and the glutes, hips is still going to be the same. So you'll take one leg, I'll just say left leg here, lifting your left leg up. Now keep in mind, a lot of people, they lift the leg and you know, it's our natural tendency to want to lift, so we think go as high as possible. So they'll lift, and then once they've reached their maximum extension, then other muscles are going to start to kick in that externally rotate the hip. Perfectly okay position for the body to be in, but just for the glute work that we're doing today, we want ideally for both frontal hip points. So if you think about those little bony points that you can feel when you palpate underneath your waistline. So you want those to be angling down. So the leg might not lift as high, but that's not necessarily, I mean, that's not a bad thing at all. So the leg comes up, the knees bent. You know, we will cue to bring the heel in towards the glute. Now, the primary purpose of that is just so you can get some hamstring work. In the bar classes, we find we don't necessarily do a lot of hamstring strengthening. So it's just another opportunity for you to kick those muscles in. But whether you were to do this with your leg straight or, you know, with the heel away from the glute, that's fine too. I want your focus to be on your glute. So actually squeezing that glute muscle to lift your knee higher. So think about the line of the knee. So it would be the same whether the knee was bent or the knee was straight, still lifting through the glute there. So this can get a little bit exhausting. So here we have the left leg up. Now I want to make sure I'm rolling that left outer hip down, but not to the point where it drops below the right hip. So, you know, there is a lot of mindful sort of movement and adjustment, especially when you don't have anybody to tell you where your hips are level. It's a little hard for you to see on your own. So it just takes, you know, practice and repetition, repetition, repetition. So here the leg is up and it's just very, very little squeezes as you squeeze the glute. It's that action that is lifting your leg. What tends to happen, and I think I'll be able to demonstrate this pretty good in the low back. So if you're here, right, then we start lifting, and then notice that just by arching my back a little bit more, now my knee goes up. So my mind or my brain might be thinking, oh, I'm going higher, but really you're engaging a motion in the spine that isn't beneficial for the work that we're doing for the glute. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So here, it's a difference again between squeezing the glute, little tiny lifts, squeeze, and actually like lifting and rocking from the lumbar spine region. Okay, so you have square hips, and then the other thing that tends to happen, and I'm gonna switch sides just so I don't get too wonky on one side. The other thing that tends to happen is this shift in weight. So here my right leg is up. As I get tired, I'm gonna start to sink, maybe actually facing will be better. So here my hip is directly over my knee, and then over time, so you can kind of see that hip, how it sinks out to the side. So we may be down onto our forearms. I guess you can see a little bit better when my hands are down. But here I'm sinking into that hip, and it's not gonna feel good over time. So what I wanna do is pull the hip back in, right? Well, there are a couple different ways that people work in this position. So if you notice the knee that's on the floor, as I pull my hip in, well, now my knee is between my left hand and my right hand. So I'm forming this little triangle of stability here to keep myself stable. But for me, that doesn't feel super good on the right side of my low back. I feel like I might be a little kind of scrunched. So how I like to do it is you have one knee in line with the wrist, knee in line with the wrist. So since I'm taking my right leg back, I'm going to want to shift more weight into my right hand. That will help distribute the weight evenly between the hand that's on the floor and the knee that's on the floor. So this hand becomes one mainly just for stability purposes. I could even send it a little far out. So I'll move here so you can see it better, but you can send it a little bit out to the side. So now essentially, okay, so check this out. When you have your left arm out to the side, now you've recreated that triangle point of stability between the two hands and the left knee. Right? A little bit of a wonky triangle, but a triangle nonetheless. And then I still have equal weight between my hand that's on the floor and the knee that's on the floor. Okay, so sometimes, again, it's just not weight into the hand, just fingertips. So essentially you're bearing the weight between the 2 points of contact on the floor, but you're using your left hand here to help kind of stabilize you. So with that said, that'll come into play regardless of your position, but I feel like at least to get things started, when you're on tabletop, that's a good way that you can start to feel the balance in your body. So finding your center, kind of working with those center points so all of your movements can be strong and intact. And keep in mind, because you're working to keep your hip directly over your knee, right? You are working this hip that's not moving. The stable hip is working. You're actually working to strengthen all of the stability muscles, which just as much as being mobile, you really want to start, in my opinion, with getting yourself stable. Okay.